Have you ever been broken? By MultiGen Mindset Institute. Have you ever been broken? Have you ever been suppressed down to the place of not knowing if you can continue or not even wanting to continue? I can tell you that times will get tough. You will be challenged. The things in which you seek after and the things in which you envision and the things in which God put in your heart to accomplish will challenge you. This universe will continually ask you how badly you want the thing. They say that anything that comes easy is not worth the fight, and that things that come hard are the things that are worthy. They say that when life comes against us, when pressures come to keep us from our goal, when things don't work out, that there's a message in the struggle, that there is something that the universe wants you to see. There's a perspective that you're missing. There's something that you're looking over, and God wants you to see it. So I ask you now, if you're struggling, if you're pushing, if you're hunting and can't seem to find what it is that you're looking for, I challenge you now to ask the question, what is it that God wants you to see? Because the purpose of brokenness is changed perspective. The purpose of struggle is to get you to ask the right questions. What are the questions God wants you to ask? What are the things that you're looking over, that you're ignoring, that you're not paying attention to? Who is it that you're supposed to be being that you're not? Or maybe the struggle is because you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And the pressures of the barriers that come up against you are there to strengthen you so that you can become the person strong enough to hold space for that in which you envision. For a man that has dreamed of lifting 350 pounds at the gym, he can't ever lift that 350 pounds until he first lifts 100. And then he can lift 150 pounds, and then he can lift 200 pounds. And eventually, if he keeps building himself, he can lift that 350 pounds. So I ask you, what goals are you going after at this moment? And are they eluding you? Because when your goals elude you, it means that you're not a safe place for those goals to be accomplished. The Bible says that God will never give you more than you can handle. I consider that to be stress related, but I also consider it to be blessing related. For a blessing that you cannot handle becomes a curse and a burden. A blessing that you cannot handle becomes a curse and a burden. What blessings are you asking for that you're not ready to hold? Some of us wish that we had wives or husbands or girlfriends or boyfriends. And the question is the person that you're asking for, are you the person that can handle them? Why would God give you an amazing woman for you to simply let her down and break her heart? Have you done the internal work, the work on your trauma, to be able to be a solidified good husband that a woman can count on? If not, then you're asking for a wife in vain. First, work on the foundation before you try to fill the house with beautiful things. First, build the foundation before you try to go in and sit on the couch. You first have to design the house from top to bottom and order the materials. And when you're building a house, just like when you're building a vision and when you're building a dream, when you have a vision for who you're supposed to be and who you want to be and the things that you want to accomplish and the places that you want to go and the things that you want to build, Have you prepared yourself, which is the foundation, for that in which you ask? Because if the house is built on sand, it will crumble when the floods come. But a house built on stone and will withstand storms and winds of many kinds. I have often discovered that when I'm banging my head against a wall and seeking after gold and it's not coming, and I'm trying to change a circumstance and my power to change circumstances is not working, and I'm doing affirmations and I'm doing praying and I'm asking God why it's not working out. Eventually, when I quit blaming God, when I quit asking why, and I look at myself in the mirror, I see clearly that I am not the kind of man that can yet hold the reins of that vision, and that if it were to come true at this moment, it would do nothing short of destroy me. So I ask you, what things are you asking for that you're not ready to receive, but yet you're frustrated that you don't yet have the thing? What thing, what dream, and what vision frustrates you because you haven't yet received or accomplished it? I dare to ask you to look at yourself, because things come naturally to those who are prepared. The man who's lifted 350 pounds 100 times, when he goes into the gym on a random Friday and sits down under the bench and he bench presses that 350 pounds that he's done 100 times, it's nothing to him. But to the man who's never lifted 350 pounds and he's going to sit underneath that bar and he sits on that bench and he looks at that weight and he wonders if he can. We are all in a preparatory stage for the next thing that's coming to us. And I ask you, what is the next thing that's coming to you? Thoth and the Emerald Tablets state that the future is an open book to those that can read. Are you reading the future? Palm reading isn't about reading the palms, it's about reading the aura of the person. It's about reading who that person is at this moment in time. It's not a judgment. You're not judging yourself. When you look at yourself and you say, who am I in this moment? Who am I being? And who am I becoming? When you ask those questions and you're willing with the courage to look at the truth, you might see that you're not actually being the person that can have the thing in which you ask. Before a person can own a business that does $1 million a year, he must first own a business that does $100,000 a year. And then he has to be able to manage that successfully so that he can hold the reins for when the business does $200,000 a year. For the person who has $1 million a year business, it's almost nothing to them because it took 3 years to build it. They've been building the $1 million business. They didn't wake up and suddenly have $1 million business. They built it day by day by day. And just like that, you are never going to receive the things that you want within the blink of an eye. The things in which you want and the person that you want to become comes with day to day and moment to moment commitment and dedication. And the thing in which you're seeking and the prayer in which you're asking to be fulfilled and the vision in which you're working to achieve, it will not come easily. And it will challenge the deepest parts of who you are. And that is the purpose of a vision or a dream. And if you're not dreaming so big as to where you have to fundamentally change who you are in order to receive and achieve and have that thing, then you are not dreaming big enough. There's 2 reasons why people don't receive that in which they ask. One is that they ask too small, and second is that when they do ask big enough, they ask with selfish desires that they may spend that in which they earn on selfish things. In other words, they are thinking short-sightedly about pleasure and themselves instead of working through love of humanity and doing the thing and seeking to achieve the thing in which they seek and they envision in order to change humanity. We think, again, too small. Because you may say, well, I want $1 million business, but maybe God says you should have $1 billion business, and you're spinning your wheels chasing after little bitty things when God says you're a king and not a squire. And I'm telling you now that preparation is the key of becoming. It's all about the foundation that you're laying. And there is a procedure unfolding every single day, and there's momentum towards a certain direction of who you are and who you're becoming and the things in which you're experiencing, and the barriers that come up against you towards pursuing that goal is literally God Himself guiding you. A barrier, a no, a refusal, a denial is guidance. I used to train young men that were out dating, looking for wives and looking for partners, that when a woman tells you no, that's guidance, that the God inside of her, that there's a God in you and there's a God in her, and it's somehow, in some weird way, it's the same God. It's that there's a God in that girl and there's a God in that man, and the two gods are one God, but yet the God in her is saying no, 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 and her intuition is saying no, no, no. But yet it's the same God, and you're going after that girl because you're not tuned in. I stretch to say that you should have never asked a woman out if it wasn't. A woman should never tell you no. And I go out on a limb by saying this, but if you are truly being led by God and the Holy Spirit and the greater self that's inside of you, and you are truly tuned in, there's no way you could actually ask a girl out on a date that wasn't divinely meant for you, because the fact that you're so in tune with who you're becoming, you can immediately recognize who is for you and who is not. And most of us are not in that tune, so we play the shotgun game. Entrepreneurs, people looking for jobs, people looking for partners, you play the shotgun game. The shotgun game is, I'm going to shoot this shotgun up at the sky, and I'm going to hopefully get a bird. But you're not aiming at nothing. You're betting on the fact that one of these 100 shots lands in the right place. And the law of averages, when you get into the law of averages, it teaches you to use big numbers in order to achieve goals. The law of averages is almost intuitively different than the law of guidance. Because the law of guidance says that you will be guided, whether you turn to the left or to the right. There will be a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. And it's when you turn and tune into that voice that you're guided. And that takes a reverence and a fear, the fear of the Lord. And you understand what the fear of the Lord is. That's nothing to do with Jesus, God, or anything like that. The fear of the Lord is fear of disconnection. It's fear of disconnecting from your higher self. The fear of the Lord is a reverence towards not wanting to fuck up and make a wrong choice that's going to disconnect you from your internal self, from your truest identity. And since there's momentum in every action, and every action is a karmic episode, and every time you take an action, you're setting a momentous action that has to, because there's a start and an end to every cycle. So when you take an action and you're making a karmic action, and there's a start and an end to that cycle. And when you start an action, there's momentum in that cycle, and it has to come to an end. You can't, for example, have an affair on your wife once and then never do it again and the thing go away, because that karmic episode has to come to an end, which eventually comes to the truth being revealed. Either your wife's going to learn about it, or you're going to eventually confess it to her, or both of you are going to live miserably for the rest of your lives, because the law of truth states that you can't live in untruth. You can't be somebody that you're not. Eventually, the secrets will be shouted on the rooftops, and the truth will be revealed in all things. So the question of who you are being is the answer to who you're becoming. And if you look at yourself truly, just like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth say, the future is an open book to those who can read, because the future is based upon karmic episodes that are unfolding, because there's a cycle and an end to everything. For example, if you have a gym membership and you've been going 3 to 4 days a week consistently for 3 years, and something happens, you get broken up with, you lose a job, something happens, you get in a car accident, something happens and you stop going to the gym. The non-action of stopping going to the gym, you've created a cycle, a karmic episode that will move forward before you and eventually end. And so you end up going months and months and months without going back to the gym because there's momentum and the habit and the cycle of not going to the gym, and eventually it breaks. Eventually something happens. Eventually you can't take it anymore. Eventually you call an end to the cycle, and you work yourself up to the courage to pack your gym bag, set a schedule, and get your ass back into the gym finally. And then finally you wake up and you're standing in the gym and you hadn't been there in 3 or 4 months, and you're looking around like, God, I'm finally back. I'm finally back in the gym. I'm finally back on my game. I'm finally done. And you look back and you realize that the thing didn't have to continue for so long. Actually, the fight to get yourself back to the gym wasn't near as big as you actually thought that it was. And when you eventually decided to confront the bad habit, and the bad activity, the bad momentum, when you decided to confront it, when you confronted it, that's when it stopped. And for so long, you wouldn't confront this thing because, well, you know that it's going on, and you know you should do it. You know you should fix your credit. You know you should be going to the gym. You know you should be on a diet. You know you should be looking for a better job or doing better at the job that you have. You know you should leave this partner or leave this husband or ask this person out, or you know there's something that you should be doing or something that you should not be doing, and you know it, and it's bugging you, but you're too much in a momentous cycle to stop what it is that you're doing. And eventually a confrontation has to take place, whether you're smoking cigarettes and you need to quit, or you're drinking and you need to quit, or you're not going to the gym and you need to go to the gym. There's gonna be some area of your life that you're not paying attention to, and that foundational area is probably what's keeping you from going on to the next level of who it is that you become. Because when life breaks you, it's doing it because it loves you. And when you're broken, that seems to be when you finally stop and ask the right questions. And it seems like God will drive us to the place of breaking in order to get our attention. And I'm asking you now, what has God been calling to your attention? What are you ignoring? What are you not confronting in your life? It's normally, each one of us has 2 to 3 little areas of our life that is greatly affecting our human experience, but it's a bad habit of something that we're doing that we can confront and stop. And because we're not willing to confront this one area over here, God will not let us move forward and this other area over here. So our focus is on this one area and trying to grow it and trying to become better, or trying to lose weight, or trying to gain muscle, or make more money, or grow our company. We're focused on that goal, but there's this bad habit, this sin, there's this something that we're not confronting, whether it's watching pornography, or cheating on our partners, or not going to the gym, or not eating healthily, or not handling your money correctly, or not taking a percentage of your income and putting it into tithes. There's some universal law that you're violating, and because you're violating that law in the expression of who you are being at that moment, the goal that you're going after and the thing that you're going after continues to elude you. And you're asking the wrong question. And God will spin us in circles until we finally stop and say, okay, what is the right question to ask? What am I missing? What am I overlooking? Who am I supposed to be that I'm not being? Who am I supposed to be an uncle to that I'm not showing up? Who am I supposed to be a brother to that I'm not showing up? Who am I supposed to be a spouse to that I'm not showing up? Who am I supposed to be a mentor to that I'm not showing up? Is there a church organization or some kind of group of people that I'm supposed to be contributing to, but I'm too goddamn selfish? Where in your life are you not in your full ethics? That is the question that can allow you to find the root cause of what's holding you back. Because it's not about what you're doing or not doing. It's truly about who you are being and expressing yourself at this moment. Suppression comes in many forms, and often we suppress ourselves. And what I'm talking to you about now is suppression. Because when you are out of alignment, when you are out of ethics, your power is weakened. Your foundation is shaky. And the things that you're going after seem to elude you and elude you and elude you because you're not being the person that can actually hold space for that thing. And preparation of yourself is how you receive the goals in which you dream. Preparation and working on who you're being is the way to receive that in which you dream. We think that it's going after and going after and going after that achieves goals. And it's not. What achieves goals is working on and working on and working on ourselves. Focusing on our statistics. What are we doing every single day? When we sit at our desk in the morning, by the time we leave, how productive are we? Can we be more efficient? Where are you falling short? Because when you look at where you're falling short, you can look at why that will lead you to understand why you're not moving forward. I can't tell you how many times I was trying to change a circumstance or earn more money or something in my life, and I would bang my head against a wall month after month after month trying to change a circumstance, and it just persisted and persisted and persisted until I started asking the right questions, which is, who am I being in this moment? And if that person is that person worthy of receiving that in which I ask? And then I finally realize eventually that there's something inside of me that has to change before I can receive and hold space for that in which I ask. And then when I start working on myself, then the thing changes. Right? So we are on a journey, and that journey is unfolding, and we're being continually called over and over to better versions and better versions of ourselves and better expressions of ourselves. And then we wrestle with that. We wrestle with the pressure. We wrestle with the conflicts that arise. We wrestle with the inner conflicts of where we beat ourselves up and we hold ourselves over the flame. And instead of holding ourselves accountable, we beat ourselves. We blame ourselves. We judge ourselves. We beat ourselves down, where you can't even stand up again. And instead of nurturing yourself and forgiving yourself and giving yourself grace and encouragement to go forward in the next moment, you hold yourself. Accountability is not guilt. And so often, whether we're overweight and we're trying to lose weight, we want to lose weight, but we're wrestling with that, right? Because that's a common thing a lot of us struggle with. We want to change our bodies. We either want to be more fit or stronger or have more muscle or less body fat. There's something in our body that we want different. It's a big thing that most of us struggle with. And then we wrestle with it. We wrestle and nothing changes. Because on the inside is where the change occurs. And we're focused on the outside. If you don't have a lifestyle that can support a healthy body, then taking all the Band-Aids and the weight loss pills and all of this stuff is only seeking to change the outer expression of what that thing is, which is you. And there is an inner expression. And that inner expression is what you must focus on, because that is who you are being. So I ask you, where are you falling short? And where are you judging yourself and beating yourself up? Look, holding yourself accountable, it's hard and it hurts. But beating yourself up and blaming yourself and not only being the accuser and the victim at the same time internally is so much conflict that you can't get out of that. Literally, we will be not only the judge of ourselves, but the victim of it. At the same time, you are literally a victim of yourself, because you're judging yourself and calling yourself a label, a permanent label. Oh, I'm fat. I'm fat, and that's it. That's a permanent label. That is a permanent label. No, at this moment, your body is carrying more body fat than it should, but you're in the process of getting it to lose that, right? So you're not stuck. When we use labels, those are permanent definitions. Oh, I'm a bad person. No, actually, you made some bad judgments, but you You wouldn't even care if you're a bad person if you were truly a bad person. If you wonder if you're a bad person, that right there is proof that you're not a bad person. Because a bad person wouldn't give a fuck that they're a bad person. So if you're wondering, oh, I don't want to be a bad person. Am I a bad person? No, you're not a bad person. The fact that you're asking the question proves that you're a good person. And so we victimize ourselves by judging. Oh, we're a bad person. We shouldn't have done this. We made these mistakes. Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I cheated here. I lied here. I did this. And then you carry that into the future and when it's back in the past. And we wonder why we're down and out. We wonder why we're not as happy as we can be. And we suffer because we make ourselves a victim of ourselves. We judge ourselves more than God. Right? And the judgment and the labels and the self-prosecution, it has to stop. You have to handle yourself with the love of a father or the love of the ever forgiving love of a mother or a father. Right? You have to love yourself. And you can't love yourself when you're hating yourself and you're blaming yourself of where you fell short, of where you didn't show up, of where you screwed up, of where you fucked up, of where you're judging yourself and blaming yourself, and you won't let yourself get above what you did wrong. Right? Rather than seeing that you're on an eternal journey that's unfolding life to life to life, and you're only here to learn. You're only here to learn. You're here to make mistakes. It's impossible that you can go through this entire life and not make a mistake, not make a miscalculation, not choose the wrong target on occasion, right? It's impossible for you to not make a mistake, but yet we're so hard on ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves that we won't give ourselves a chance to breathe into the next day and give ourselves a chance to actually receive grace and actually receive forgiveness. And it's that grace and forgiveness that we need to feel and recognize in order to be able to let things go and say, you know what? Okay, whatever, yesterday I did that. The day before I did that, or last year, whatever, I did that. Okay, it's done. It's over. I'm in today. That's yesterday. I'm here today. And I'm here to fight the battles of today. I'm not even trying to worry about the battles of next year or the next day. The battles of today are big enough. You can work on the battles of today, right? And the battles of today are nothing but preparing for the battles of tomorrow. And preparation seems to be what this whole freaking life is about. So I ask you, where are you not asking the right questions? Where are you not confronting areas of yourself that need work and need change? Because that confrontation is what the universe is inviting you to do when it comes against you and puts a barrier and puts a barrier and puts a barrier. It's asking you to ask questions. Who am I being at this moment? Am I truly becoming the person step by step by step with the goals that I have? Because if you want to be a successful person with a life full of love and friends and people who care about you and surrounded by good things unfolding, you have to nurture that version of yourself inside of yourself before it starts showing up on the outside. If you want to be a good friend and have good friends, you have to first become a good friend, which means you have to ask, what is a good friend? How do I become a good friend? What does it mean to be a good friend? If I considered somebody a good friend, what would that look like? And how do I begin to emulate that in my life? Right? And the next thing you know, you've built a surrounding around you, a little group of friends, compadres that believe in you, right? But you have to first be a good friend, right? So if we want to be fit, we have to first be a person that can be fit. That's right. If we want to earn more money, we have to become a person that can earn more money, which means not only do we need to work on learning how to make the money, we also have to work on how to save it, how to invest it, and how to multiply it through the conditions formulas. Right? And learning is what separates us from the level beneath us. And the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it talks about looking up at the sky and kind of seeing yourself. It says, look at thyself as if thyself was a young child. And that young child did not see and know the things that you as an adult now know. And he said, then thus imagine life. And that those above you that are operating on the higher laws of the universe, it's not that they're better than you or different than you. It's only the fact that by knowledge, the mysteries are no longer mysteries, and they have become somebody who operates on a higher level than you. But it's not The billionaires, when you look at somebody in life that's doing better than you, that's operating on higher levels, they're just operating with a different set of higher laws, right? Have you done this where you've actually reverse engineered, you've actually imagined the end game, what it actually is, the end game, and then reverse engineered what it required to be that, and then what you required to do that? Because sometimes we have to fundamentally change our literal, like our temperance. Like we have to, change, right, our emotional, conditioning, right? Because, I'm telling you, people are going to experience stress, and you're going to experience stress and pressure based upon the large game that you're playing. Right? So little games are little pressures, big games are big pressures, right? For example, the Super Bowl touchdown, right? When the clock's counting down, there's a lot of pressure at the Super Bowl, but the first, practice game, scrimmage of the season, who cares, right? So the game that you're playing determines the amount of stress. And often we overload ourselves with stress because we're going after and seeking after goals and games that we want to play that we're not prepared to handle. And because we haven't prepared ourselves, the stress is overwhelming, and we get to a breaking place, and then we give up on that dream, and we give up on that thing because we got broken. We broke ourselves because you went after a thing prematurely before you prepared yourself to have that thing. One example would be going out and getting a mentor, right? Somebody who's done what you're attempting to do before, and learning and gleaning from them and meeting with them once every 2 weeks or once every week, or having a phone call once a week and getting a mentor, going and finding somebody that say, hey, you have built this life and I'm wanting to build a life similar. Can you help me? Right? And that can help prepare you to become the version of yourself that you want to be, because you're emulating somebody who's done something similar. And they can look at you and say, hey, look, I'm 55 years old and I'm happily married for 40 years or 30 years. And I know that you're 25 years old and you're trying to be successful and you want a successful marriage. I'm going to tell you, based upon experience, don't date without intention, and don't date a girl that you know that you wouldn't want to marry. But we have to go through those phases, and it's preparing ourselves for the next phase that calls in the next phase. So we're locked in these conditions, and the conditions don't change until we pass the test of the condition to change, because there's requirements on moving to the next level. And you need to work on yourself to be able to pass those requirements. You don't go apply for a job that requires a PhD when you don't have a PhD. And some of us, that's what we're doing. There's places and areas in our personal lives that we're not confronting and we're not bringing to God. And there's things that we're keeping from God and not telling the truth about. And there's things that we're not willing to confront. And there's people we're running from. And there's people we're supposed to be showing up for that we're not. But yet we're going through our day-to-day life, not confronting these areas. And then we're trying to become something different and push on this area over here, but it's not moving, and we're running up against barriers, and we're banging our head against the wall. And it's because we're not stopping to look at the fundamentals and the foundation of who we actually are at this moment. And it's when you stop and you look and you say, God, where am I failing to show up? What am I missing? So I urge you to begin asking questions. Begin asking questions to God. Begin asking questions to whoever it is that you worship or look towards to. Whoever it is inside of yourself that you look for that. When you start asking those deep fundamental questions of who am I? Who are you asking that to? And I implore you to begin asking questions, to begin seeking deeper revelations of yourself. Because accountability is where responsibility begins. First, you have accountability. You hold yourself accountable. And then that means that you're now taking responsibility. When you're willing to take accountability and then become responsible, you begin to become cause. And when you begin to become cause, you begin growing power within you to change your circumstance and your conditions. But it starts with acknowledgement and confrontation, and then it takes handling, which is responsibility, right? And then when you're able to do that, then you gain the inner strength in order to actually, the power, the literal life power, to change your circumstance. Acknowledgement, confrontation, then handling, responsibility, and then inputting correct action and ethics, and then from that, you gain personal power. Some of us, we can't touch our personal power because we're over here doing this thing in these other areas of our lives that we know are out of ethics, and it's holding us back. Because there's something we know that we're not giving to God. There's something we know that is wrong, but we persist in it. And then we're held back and we're held back. And so I ask you today, where are you being held back and why? Instead of getting angry, because you could get angry, or you could not get angry. You could blame. You know, what would happen if you got angry? Like, what if you did get angry? What if you got frustrated and angry? Like that, ask yourself, if I got angry, I could. If I didn't get angry, I could, right? So your response to the barriers and your response to the resistance is the temperature level for your maturity. And oftentimes we're not mature enough to hold space for the thing in which we ask. And if God did let us get those things, not only would we hurt those people and let them down, but we would destroy ourselves because we're not mature enough. So maturity is basically the mark of responsibility. Maturity is being willing to acknowledge and take responsibility and confront and handle without emotion, without blame, without victimhood, but rather responsibility and ownership. And then you become cause. Ownership means cause, right? Ownership means I have the ability to take responsibility, and I'm going to do these things in order to take responsibility, because what does responsibility look like? Responsibility looks like acknowledgement and action. Remember, you have health, wealth, happiness, and love. And at MultiGen Mindset Institute, we teach you, that's what we teach you to take a hold of, is you first start with your health, your wealth, and then your happiness changes, and then from there you can work on your love. But the first thing is your health, because that's the first nearest thing for you to grab onto in order to initiate change. Well, it's just because each one of us manages the areas of our lives a little bit differently. We put a higher set of priorities, you know. We put a higher set of priorities and values on one thing rather than another. You take somebody who reads 1,000 books a day and they're extremely smart and they're intelligent, but they're unhealthy, they won't take care of their body, they're overweight, they're going to college, they're getting, like, you see, it's confusing because you're like, well, why are they so successful in this one area, but this other area, they're just in the red? Well, it has to do with confrontation and responsibility. All we're trying to do in this talk is get you to ask questions. It's get you to ask the right questions.